Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm super excited to bring to you yet again another book review. Now, you already know I absolutely love books, and in this channel, I do my best to bring the books that have most inspired me into this crazy journey that is life. And today, I'm going to pick one of my favorite books, and I know I always say this, but it's Elaine Welteroth's More Than Enough. Now, if you don't know anything about Elaine, I think at least you should know that she was actually the first Black beauty editor in the whole of Condé Nast history. This is obviously huge. And in her memoir, More Than Enough, she tells us all about this process. She goes from childhood to high school, then how she got her career, and then obviously the future. And it's one of my favorite books. First of all, it's incredibly well written. Elaine has a natural talent to write. Obviously, she is. She has worked in magazines and writing in creative industries, so I wasn't expecting anything else. But it is truly the way she writes. She takes us on that journey, and she paints things very well. Now, I am going to highlight, as always, three key aspects of this book, and we're going to start with the first point, which is it is possible to have a creative career. Then we're going to move on to finding the right partner can change your life. Lastly, but definitely not least, it is possible to change. All right, so without further ado, let's dive into one of my favorite memoirs, Elaine Welteroth's More Than Enough. All right, so as I said before, Elaine takes us through her whole childhood journey, all different phases of her life, and the first key aspect I wanted to highlight was precisely the fact that it is possible to have a creative career. Now, for many years, I had this dilemma in my mind. Is it possible to make a living out of a creative career? Now it is definitely way harder than what it used to be since we are, guess what, in AI era. But that was not the case a few years ago. And there's always difficulties in every stage, in every era of life. So I can only imagine for Elaine how she must have felt when she wanted to pursue a creative career, and there were very few examples of what she could be, especially in the magazine industry. So I remember she describing that from an early age, she would look at magazines, select very beautiful outfits, models, the way people wrote, and she always thought that it would be possible for her to work in a magazine and to make a living out of it. And she talks about an episode she had with a teacher once at her school, and the teacher said that, the teacher just asked, hey, what would you guys like to do in the future? I think she was in high school, something like that, and she was about to enter college. And she actually said that she would like to be an editor in a magazine. And instead of the teacher looking at her and saying, oh, I actually don't think that's possible at all, or you're aiming a little bit too high, or the economy is not so good, the teacher did in fact the contrary of that. And she told her, absolutely, Elaine, that's exactly what you should be doing. You are incredibly good at writing. You are a creative. That is the direction that your life needs to go on. And I thought that was so magical and interesting. First of all, I love teachers. Teachers inspire, inform adults, and inform, yeah, that's what they do. They feed your dreams or they tear your dreams down. But in this case, she fed Elaine's dreams and she gave Elaine that drive to continue to pursue that creative career. Later on, Elaine ended up doing an internship at the Ebony magazine, and she ended up working, like her first day as an intern, she worked with Serena Williams. She even tells the story of how she got to the shoot, and the person doing hair and makeup was someone she already knew. I think she was a family friend, which definitely helped Elaine feel a little bit more comfortable and know how to, like contribute to the shoot. And Serena Williams was there, and she suggested something to her boss at the time regarding Serena's outfit for the shoot. And this was the image that was going to be on the cover of the magazine. So she did that. And at first her boss was like, okay, like, who are you to tell me? You were just an intern. But yet again, her boss listened to her, and The outfit Elaine suggested for Serena to use was the outfit chosen to be on the cover of the magazine. What? So even though she was an intern, her boss at the time, the editor-in-chief of Ebony at the time, still chose to look at her and say, you know what? I like that idea. Even though I'm in a position of power, and even though I might know way more than you, since you are an intern, you just got here, I'm still going to give you the opportunity. I will be humble about it, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to have a say. Because even though you are an intern, you are still in this room, you are working, you have earned your spot, and you can share your ideas with the world. I thought that was brilliant from Elaine's side and her boss' side. Her career was described as a difficult, challenging one. Don't let yourselves be fooled. I mean, from her description, moving from Ebony then to obviously Condé Nast and having so much pressure, she eventually experienced burnout, all of the things. But she also said that she had a lot of fun. She did exactly what she wanted every single day. She advocated for her rights, salary raises and everything, and she lived beautiful experiences. And I think, looking back at my own life, having a creative career, I've worked in podcasting before, and I had so much fun talking to creators, going to panels, hosted different things, and I can only understand and empathize with that, which is like when you are doing something that is your calling, you feel it and you do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's move on to the second topic, which is picking the right partner can change your life. Now, if you ever notice a pattern with successful, beautiful women, is that they don't spend a lot of time talking about their romantic partners. They love their romantic partners, but it's definitely not a huge part that they like to highlight. It's definitely important to them, but usually they pay a little bit more attention to the career and to other aspects of their life when it comes to writing a memoir, all right? And I was very surprised and pleased to see that Elaine had actually written a whole chapter about this. So she describes a relationship she had in her early 20s with a gentleman that was not the best gentleman for her. He was great on paper. He had a fantastic job. I think he worked in finance or something. He was everything her family, her friends, her alter ego wanted. A handsome, successful, financially stable guy, but that in terms of character was definitely not the right guy for her. He deceived her. He later on, she found out that he was unfaithful to her, and she went through a huge breakup, like huge breakup. And she describes that moment as being actually earth-shattering. She says that she literally felt like her world was going to end. The plans she had made with this person, everything. And she describes this cycle as very tumultuous, and a cycle that lasted a very, 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 very long time. And she later on says that she ended up finishing breaking up with this guy. That was the best decision of her life. But then again, since she was stuck in this vicious cycle, she was the only person that could ever make that decision. She heard advices from friends, family members, everybody, had an opinion, but at the end of the day, she was the one who had to have the strength to choose the life that she ultimately wanted with the partner that she ultimately wanted. And then she briefly talks about her current partner today, her husband, and how they met in church. They had met when they were pretty much in high school. She never paid him no mind, but they ended up reconnecting in adulthood and ended up getting married. He was the partner that had all the things that she wanted, maybe in a different kind of way, in a different way imagined in her head, being that she had this huge role and first Black beauty editor in Condé Nast. You're supposed to be with someone of a certain way, I guess, whatever that means. And he was not that, but he was fantastic to her heart. Also a very successful young man. But I thought that was beautiful. First of all, that she dedicated a whole chapter about that to help us make the best decisions when it comes to our love life. And also that she was candid and honest about it. Like, we hear so many stories of women being successful in very, like, a lot of areas, especially professionally. But then the love life area, it's always like this gray, um, unrelated, unknown, very weird area that you, I guess you never know, or it's very unclear. And I think it was very brave of her to open up and talk a little bit about it. And now, last but not least, let's talk about the last key aspect of this book, which is it is okay to change. This was a marvelous way for her to almost finish the book. This is one of the last chapters. And what I loved about this chapter is that it gives you the permission to be something else that you thought. It gives you the permission to allow your brain to be adaptable, to allow your life to have several dreams. And the way she talked about it was beautiful as well. She first described that she was leaving some sort of an event, and then she went to Ava DuVernay's apartment. If you don't know who Ava DuVernay is, she is like fantastic filmmaker in Hollywood. She was responsible for many, many, many incredible films. One of the ones you might hear and know about is actually I think it was it was a series about the Central Five. I think the series is called When They See Us. Fantastic. You have to see it. You're probably going to cry, but it's fantastic. Filmmaking is brilliant. And she went to Ava DuVernay's apartment, and they had a very candid and honest conversation where she was pretty much saying to Ava, I think I'm done with this. I think I'm done with being an editor. I want to try something different. And Ava told her, well, why not? And she was all of a sudden, I think, something in her mind unblocked. It was like, oh, wait, I can do that? It is fascinating how when we live life a certain way and we have certain roles and certain, habits, we think we're supposed to have them for the rest of our lives. And that doesn't necessarily need to be true. You can change your life whenever you decide to. And I really loved the way she explained this. And yet again, another woman supporting, another woman saying it was okay to change your mind, another woman saying, yeah, like, what's wrong with that? Like, you are not one thing. You can be the first Black beauty editor in Condé Nast history. You can be a teacher. You can work in a museum. You can build your own brand. And so that's exactly what she did. Elaine moved on to be one of the judges in Project Runway. And I think today she has a motherhood-focused type of business in the US. So she understood that, I think, and I will quote this, I don't want to be wrong. Her life or your life is a series of dreams realized, and you don't have to be stuck to one dream. I can look at my own life. I've had the dream to sing, and I did it. I've had the dream of having a podcast, and I did it. I had the dream to move to another country, and I did it. I had the dream of working in marketing, and I did it. I had the dream of becoming a journalist, and I did it. I had a dream to create my own YouTube channel. I'm doing it. And I have other dreams, and I can't wait to fulfill them. And I don't have to be defined only by one thing. I think we as individuals, we are complex. We can change our minds whenever we want to. And that is the power of possibility. You guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Please grab Elaine Welteroth's More Than Enough memoir. It's incredible. I guarantee you are not going to regret it. All right? Thank you so much. Bye-bye.